We are often taught that placing ourselves first is wrong, a notion that can lead us away from our own well-being. The ingrained belief that we must constantly prioritize others can overshadow our own fundamental needs. Consider this. How often do we genuinely dedicate time and energy to our own requirements? When was the last instance you consciously chose your own needs above external demands? It can be argued that what appears as selfishness is in reality a vital form of self-respect and care. How many times have you suppressed your own voice to maintain a superficial peace? How often have you compromised your personal boundaries to avoid disappointing others? Reflecting on these instances, where did these actions ultimately leave you? Holding back your thoughts and feelings can be detrimental. As the saying goes, unexpressed emotions can take a toll on our well-being. There is wisdom in articulating our thoughts. Otherwise, they can become a burden. We cannot effectively support others when our own resources are depleted. Attempting to give when we are running on empty is unsustainable. Setting boundaries and saying no to demands that drain us is not an act of rudeness, but rather a preservation of our personal energy. Choosing moments of quiet reflection over constant explanation is not coldness, but a safeguarding of our inner peace. Prioritizing personal growth and needs is not abandoning others. It is acknowledging our own importance. Does our best self truly emerge from perpetually sacrificing our happiness for the comfort of others? The most authentic version of ourselves flourishes when we establish healthy boundaries. Boundaries that might even challenge those accustomed to our constant availability. True self-prioritization is not synonymous with being uncaring. It is the recognition that our relationship with ourselves is our longest and most significant commitment, transcending any job, external relationship, or opinion. Therefore, consciously choosing ourselves and our well-being is paramount. The truth is, becoming comfortable with occasionally disappointing others is essential for our own self-respect. Those who genuinely value us will not make us feel guilty for prioritizing our own needs. Reflect on times when you readily agreed to everything asked of you, perhaps driven by a desire to be liked or to avoid missing out. While these actions might have been well-intentioned, consistently giving without replenishing our own resources leads to depletion. It's crucial to understand that being selective about where we invest our energy is an act of self-respect, not an inherent flaw. Others may not always recognize or appreciate our sacrifices because they are not privy to our internal struggles. Furthermore, it's a common observation that individuals often prioritize their own needs. In fact, the more we give without clear limits, the more others may come to expect and take. This dynamic can be likened to a bottomless pit. The more you offer freely, the more the expectation grows. People tend not to value what is easily obtained without any personal cost. While extending kindness and support to others can contribute to a better world, it's vital to establish firm boundaries to protect ourselves. The way we treat ourselves sets the standard for how others will treat us. Therefore, prioritizing our needs is a deeply loving act, teaching the world that we value our own energy and well-being. Consider this. Every time we say yes to someone else's request, at the expense of our own needs, we are implicitly saying no to ourselves. It's important to regularly assess our capacity to give. If we have an abundance, then generosity is a positive attribute. However, when our own reserves are low, prioritizing our own replenishment becomes essential. We are not obligated to be everything to everyone. Our primary responsibility is to ourselves. Reflect on relationships where the dynamic is primarily one-sided, with requests flowing in one direction. Setting a boundary, like saying no to a significant favor, can sometimes reveal the true nature of the connection. The absence of reciprocal engagement following such a boundary can be insightful, highlighting relationships built on taking rather than mutual respect and giving. Such instances can serve as a form of protection, guiding us away from unbalanced connections. Similarly, in friendships and romantic relationships, observing reactions to a gentle refusal can illuminate the true nature of the bond. Saying no occasionally can remove the mask of superficial engagement. Even in professional settings, prioritizing one's own path and well-being can sometimes evoke unexpected reactions from those who previously benefited from constant compliance. It's often better to recognize such dynamics early on. True friendship and healthy relationships are characterized by reciprocity. If the flow of support and consideration is consistently one way, it's worth reevaluating the nature of the connection. Life is too precious to expend our energy on those who offer nothing in return. While giving has its place, healthy relationships involve mutual benefit. It's also important to recognize that we cannot force change upon those who are unwilling to seek it themselves. Unsolicited advice or help, especially when aimed at altering someone's fundamental nature, is often ineffective and can drain our own resources. People are more likely to internalize and act upon guidance they have actively sought. When we choose to engage with content like this, we are actively seeking guidance or information. This conscious choice makes us more receptive to the messages being conveyed. However, extending unsolicited help to those who haven't expressed a need can be a misallocation of our energy. Why invest our limited resources in trying to improve someone else's life when we could be directing that energy toward our own growth and well-being? When feeling drained or overwhelmed by external demands, it is perfectly acceptable to prioritize our own needs and say no to commitments. Choosing peace and solitude is not a personal affront to others. It is an act of self-preservation. Interestingly, setting boundaries and not being constantly available can sometimes increase others' respect, as it prevents them from taking our time and energy for granted. Often we inadvertently train people to expect unlimited access to our resources by consistently overgiving. This can lead to them treating us as a repository for their problems and emotional burdens. Recognizing this dynamic is the first step toward reclaiming our energy and focus. It's not selfish to prioritize our own concerns. In fact, it's essential for our mental and emotional health. While extending kindness and offering help to those who genuinely seek it is a valuable aspect of human connection, it's crucial to establish a healthy order of priorities. Self first, then immediate responsibilities, and then extending support to others as our capacity allows. Setting clear boundaries while still being helpful maintains our well-being and prevents burnout. Ultimately, we don't live solely for the benefit of others. Choosing kindness is a conscious decision, ideally stemming from a place of genuine abundance, not obligation or the fear of disappointing others. Our primary goal in life is to cultivate happiness and inner peace. Looking back, we want to be able to say that we lived authentically, pursuing our own well-being and finding joy in our experiences. Consider the physical sensations that arise when we agree to something against our better judgment. The knot in the stomach, the feeling of unease. This is not kindness, it is self-abandonment. We may have been conditioned to believe that love means endless giving, but healthy love, in all its forms, requires balance and mutual respect for individual needs. Even in the closest relationships, acknowledging our limitations and communicating our needs is vital for long-term harmony. There will be times when we need to recharge, and this should be understood and respected by those who care about us. Similarly, the notion that being constantly available and agreeable is the key to being liked can be misleading. While kindness is important, excessive niceness can attract those who seek to exploit our generosity. True kindness begins with valuing ourselves and setting boundaries that protect our well-being. Saying no when necessary is not letting ourselves down, it's honoring our own limits. Those who react negatively to our boundaries are often the ones who have benefited from their absence. Therefore, feelings of guilt when prioritizing ourselves can be seen as a signal that we are breaking free from old patterns of self-neglect. We are not obligated to provide constant access to ourselves, nor do we owe explanations for our decisions, especially when it comes to saying no. No is a complete and valid response. A label of selfish is often used when others perceive a loss of control over us. We do not need to justify our choices to everyone. It's perfectly acceptable that not everyone will understand our journey, because our journey is ultimately our own. The most empowered version of ourselves is the one who chooses inner peace over the need to please others. Self-love, in its truest form, is about understanding and prioritizing our own needs. We are not here to be universally understood, but to understand and honor ourselves. Choosing ourselves, protecting our energy, and allowing ourselves to occupy our own space are fundamental rights. Ultimately, the person we will spend our entire lives with is ourselves, and we deserve our own love and respect above all else. This exploration reveals that prioritizing our own well-being is not an act of selfishness, but rather a fundamental aspect of self-respect and a prerequisite for healthy relationships. By setting boundaries and honoring our own needs, we cultivate a stronger sense of self, ultimately enabling us to engage with the world and others from a place of genuine strength and abundance.